Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. I am very happy to be with you here, and I am really overwhelmed by your reception and the love you are showing. I am actually coming for the first time to Vaniyambadi Islamiah College, but this town is not unfamiliar to me. I have traveled through this region and I used to hear about this region because as a student I was always curious to know the history of Tamil Muslims, and the name Vaniyambadi was coming up again and again. Some 20 years back, I came to Jamia Darussalam Umarabad just to visit the campus. And then people were talking about Vaniyambadi, like you should go to Vaniyambadi, that is a very different kind of town. The Muslim community there has very interesting stories to tell. Those kind of things I used to hear. And Abul Fazl sir in his talk, he mentioned about Dr. V. Abdurrahim, and I knew that he was from Vaniyambadi, but actually I had forgotten it. When he mentioned his name again, it really made me emotional because Dr. V. Abdurrahim is almost like a teacher to me. Because even though I haven't met him in person, I used his resources, his books, which teach Arabic to non-native Arabic students. And he immensely benefited me. So, connected to his name also, Vaniyambadi were coming up always in our conversation. So, I say I am standing here like carried by emotions, and I am very glad to be here, and I will be glad to be here again and again. So, let us start. Early Muslim social reformers in Kerala mapping the educational inspiration from Vaniyambadi. See, social reform among Muslims of Kerala is a long history, and it is in many ways complicated. You have too many intellectuals, they had multiple inspirations, they have different ideas, they were battling on different war fronts. At least something about Muslim social reform in Kerala. Anyhow, I am just giving you a brief idea of what I mean by the history of Muslim social reform in Kerala. Like, you know, the term reform is always contested, and there are different definitions and interpretations for that term. And especially when it comes to the topic of Islamic reform, there are different understandings of Islamic reforms. Reformers themselves are not united in defining what is Islamic reform. If we are considering colonial India, British India, Islamic social reform was very active here, and I would say the history of Islamic social reform in Kerala, we can safely say that it largely starts from a person by the name of Sayyid Sanaullah Makadi. He is popularly known as Makti Tangal in Kerala. Makti Tangal is very famous in Kerala, and in each and every historical discussion about Kerala Muslims, his name will be coming up. So, give some 2-3 broad titles. On the one hand, he was responding to the Christian missionary activity in Malabar. There were a lot of Christian missionary organizers in colonial Malabar, and they were writing criticisms of Prophet Muhammad and Holy Quran. So, Makti Tangal was intellectually responding to them, and he was writing treatises and books that were explaining why Islam is the way of salvation and why these criticisms from Christian missionaries were why there could be, he was showing that these criticisms are baseless, and he was trying to convince in his books that Prophet Muhammad was the last messenger of Allah and he was the real successor of Jesus Christ. Secondly, he was trying to internally reform the Muslim society in Kerala. He was speaking to them like that, you know, these beliefs and these rituals you are entertaining, many of them, they are not coming from Quran or Hadith. They are simply local traditions or customs, or like you are living in a multicultural society and cultures outside to Islam are influencing you, and many of your beliefs are simply superstitions. They don't have any Islamic scriptural foundation. So you have to reform yourself. You have to go back to Quran and Hadith, and you have to correct where you have gone wrong. So that was his second argument. And his third fundamental argument was that Muslims should go for modern education. So here it comes to our topic directly. Modern education, Western education, English education, education in science, mathematics, history, social sciences, this kind of an education, the Muslims of Kerala were largely averse to this. Like they were dismissing this education as like, you know, it is not Islamic, there is no Islamic value in it, you should not go to schools, you should not go to colleges, especially you need not learn Malayalam script or English script. These are not Islamic scripts. Like in Kerala, just like you have Arabic Tamil, there was this Arabic Malayalam. So the Muslim education was in this Arabic Malayalam script. So you can learn Arabic script and use that script to write Malayalam. You should not learn English, you should not learn Malayalam, you should not go to schools. That was the argument. The Muslim religious scholars, the ulama, was largely postulating this kind of understanding, and Sayyid Sanaullah Makki Tangal, he criticized them and he tried to convince the community that what you are saying is absolutely wrong. He was saying that education, I have shown a book by him, that book is actually a rebuttal to Christian missionaries. Like this is a theological debate. It is a treatise on Trinity. You can see that this book is written in the standard Malayalam script, and this is usually considered as the first book in Malayalam script ever written by a Muslim scholar in Kerala. So up until that time, Muslim scholars, they confined themselves to the use of Arabic Malayalam, and they never used Malayalam script, and they dismissed it as in a way kind of Hindu script, like that is discouraged really. That was their argument. So Makki Tangal, he started the current of social reform among Muslims of Kerala. Then I come to Makki Tangal, I just forgot to mention it. He was from Ponnani. I don't know how many of you know about Ponnani. Ponnani is in Malabar, like Cochin, you know Kochi. It is a famous city, Ernakulam. He was based there. Muhammad Abdul Qadir, he was from Vakkam. Vakkam is near to Tiruvalla. He is usually known as Vakkam Maulavi. Muhammad Abdul Qadir, that is his name, and he actually never introduced himself as a Maulavi to the masses, but eventually people came to call him as a Maulavi because he was an eminent Islamic scholar. So we call him Vakkam Maulavi. He connected the Islamic reform movement in Kerala to global Islamic reform trends. Like Vakkam Maulavi was really a cosmopolitan intellectual. He was reading texts from various parts of the Muslim world, and he was very keenly following the reform movements in different parts of the globe. So he was really gaining inspiration. Like, you know, he was well versed in Urdu, and going beyond Malayalam, he was reading Urdu literature from North India, and he was reading to say like Shibli Numani, Sayyid Sulaiman Nadavi, Sir Sayyid Ahmad Khan, Altaf Hussain Khali, and too many North Indian figures, Abul Kalam Azad, Sayyid Ahmad, Shah Ismail. Many North Indian Islamic intellectuals were too familiar to him through their texts. Like he was subscribing to the Ma'arif journal coming from Lucknow. He was an ardent reader of it. He was translating the articles coming in the journal. On the one side, he was very actively engaging with the reform trends in North India. But he was also very much impressed by the Ahle Hadith movement in North India. He was drawing ideas from the Ahle Hadith intellectuals. And he was also looking to the broader Arab world, like he was looking to Egypt, and he regularly read the Al-Manar Monthly. Al-Manar magazine, you might have heard of it, and this was like a global Islamic print intellectual hub in the 20th century. As Sayyid Muhammad Rashid Rida, he was a very famous Islamic intellectual of the 20th century, and he published this journal, Al-Manar Monthly, and Wakam Maulvi was heavily influenced by the ideas that were appearing in the magazine of Sayyid Rashid Rida. And not only Rashid Rida, like he was looking to the genesis of modern Saudi Arabia. He was inspired by King Abdul Aziz. He was really writing articles in Malayalam, like he was jubilant about the success of King Abdul Aziz, and that King Abdul Aziz conquered Hijaz, and he was really reporting it in Malayalam. He was reading Ibn Taymiyyah. He was reading other Islamic scholars, and he was drawing many ideas from them, and he was bringing them to Kerala. So what I am saying is that Wakam Abdul Qadir Maulvi made the reform movement in Kerala something of a cosmopolitan sort with a more or less Salafi orientation. So his movement is generally called Islahi movement, and after that, after Wakam Maulvi, generally the Islamic reform movement was really defined by him. His influence was very decisive, and when I say about the Islamic social reformers in Kerala, they are by and large disciples of Wakam Maulvi. You can see a Malayalam monthly. I have given you a photo. It is named Al-Manar. It is simply taken from the name of Rashid Rida's magazine. These reformists in Kerala, they were very much impressed by Rashid Rida, and they titled their Malayalam monthly by the name of his monthly. So that much was the influence. And this is actually Rashid Rida. He came to India. He was visiting Lucknow, and in the photograph you can see Shibli Numani, Abul Kalam Azad, giants of Islamic intellectual tradition in colonial India. They are sitting with him. I show this photograph to say that the Muslim public sphere in Kerala, Rashid Rida was actually keenly following India. Like, he was very much optimistic about India. He was always propagating the idea of Nahla, or a renaissance of Muslims. He wanted Muslims to be an advanced society, especially in the field of education. So he was very hopeful about the Muslims of British India. He was impressed very much by the Areekode movement and the educational vision of Sir Sayyid Ahmad Khan. And in Arabic, Sayyid Rashid Rida was constantly writing, praising Sir Sayyid Ahmad Khan and the Areekode movement and Anglo-Muhammadan Oriental College. And when Areekode Muslim University was established, it was really reported in Al-Manar with that kind of a passion. Like, he was saying that, please, Muslims all over the world, you look to India. What is happening there? Like, miraculously, they are achieving a kind of renaissance. Areekode Muslim University, Lucknow, to the Yuban, Areekode, to interact with Muslim intellectuals here, and he carried inspiration from India back to Egypt. So Wakam Maulvi was reading these developments in Al-Manar in Arabic, and he was also at the same time reading Urdu, and he was inspired by the movements in Areekode. So if we see Wakam Maulvi, you can really see that Sir Sayyid Ahmad Khan was a principal influence. Like, Wakam Maulvi wanted the Muslims of Kerala to imitate the educational renaissance in Areekode. So Wakam Maulvi actually ran a newspaper, and this newspaper was called Swadeshabhimani. He started it in 1905. This newspaper, the inception of this newspaper was itself revolutionary in the starting of it, because I told that the Muslims of Kerala, they were generally averse to Malayalam script. Here, an Islamic scholar, in that time frame, he was starting a newspaper in standard Malayalam script. And generally, Muslim scholars then, they thought that newspaper is something un-Islamic. Wakam Maulvi, he said that no, we need Muslim investments in media, in public media. This was like this was really, so it was titled Swadeshabhimani. See, I suggest, historically, it is my theory, Vakam Maulavi was influenced by the Swadeshamitra newspaper that was coming from Chennai. Like the Hindu group published Swadeshamitra news. The princely state of Travancore actually included many Tamil-speaking provinces, and there was a large Tamil Muslim population there. So Tamil journals, Tamil newspapers, Tamil magazines were frequently coming to the table of Vakam Maulavi, and he was getting inspired by them. So I think Swadeshamitran really influenced Vakam Maulavi, really motivated Vakam Maulavi to choose this name. And it is not the only inspiration, I think, because the Swadeshi movement was very much in the air in Bengal, and Vakam Maulavi was looking to Bengal with that amount of interest, and he was following the movements in Egypt. As I already said, in Egypt, too many newspapers were coming out, and many newspapers were titled Al-Watan. So he might have translated in a way to Malayalam and put Swadeshabhimani. Anyhow, I am now coming directly to our topic. See, when we are going through the pages of Swadeshabhimani, you can see columns like Muslim Vartagal, like, I think you are getting it. You might know Malayalam to an extent. Like Muslim Vartagal, Muslim reports, Muslim news, he is reporting. Speaking about Swadeshabhimani, it actually lasted up until 1910. Between 1905 and 1910, the Swadeshabhimani was running, and then the government banned the newspaper, and it confiscated the press. Like the editor, he was a journalist named Ramakrishna Pilla. You see his photograph above. That is Ramakrishna Pilla, and below Sri Moolam Tirunal Ramavarma. He was the king, and this is Anjutang Fort. Anjutang is a place in Travancore, and there is a British fort, and Vakam Maulavi to Vakam, and then it was shifted to Thiruvananthapuram city. So from Thiruvananthapuram city, the government banned the newspaper for they were raising some issues, like you are critiquing the establishment, you are reporting news against the princely state against the king. So the paper was banned and the press was confiscated, and this man Ramakrishna Pilla was banned from Travancore, and he had to spend the remaining years in other areas of Kerala. He was not permitted to Swadeshabhimani. So when you go through the pages of Swadeshabhimani between 1905 and 1910, what I see is that a definite presence is always Aligarh. Vakam Maulavi was constantly speaking about Aligarh Muslim, like that was not university then, but he was speaking about Anglo-Mohammedan Oriental College, like the British rulers are visiting Aligarh, Aligarh representatives are talking to them, and there is much hope of Muslim educational renaissance in North India. That way of a presentation you can see constantly. But what is not that much stressed is that perhaps as an annexure, like when he is referring to Aligarh, when he is speaking about Aligarh, the movement in Aligarh, he is once in a while referring to Vaniyambadi as well. Like even though Aligarh is his major focus, he is referring to Vaniyambadi. Like he is saying, see, look to Vaniyambadi. Vaniyambadi, the Muslims of Vaniyambadi, they have formed a society, they have started a school. That school is functioning well. This much of students are there. Like this kind of a program is happening there. So he was urging Malayali Muslims to look up to Vaniyambadi for inspiration. This is really interesting. Like if you are mapping the sources of inspiration for the Islamic social reformers in Kerala, if one city is Cairo, if one city is Aligarh, if another city is Lucknow, if another city is Makkah, another is Vaniyambadi. So like you will have to come to Vaniyambadi as well to complete this map of inspirations for the early social reformers in Kerala. So in 1906 January, to specially mention, I found a report which is a bit long. I am not reproducing the report here. Like Vakam Maulavi, like the Swadeshabhimani newspaper is actually saying that your anniversary. Then there was no Vaniyambadi Islamiah college, Islamiah school was there. Most probably it was primary school, I think. So then it was a primary school. So in 1906 January, Vakam Maulavi in his Swadesha Abhimani is reporting about the anniversary function that is being conducted here. And Vakam Maulavi is saying that the prizes are distributed to the students, and he is reporting the presidential address in detail. So in that presidential address, Vakam Maulavi is reporting that the president of the function, he was saying that, dear Muslims, there is no point in complaining to the government that you are backward unless and until you make efforts for your educational investment, advancement. You are not investing in educational renaissance. You are not making any kind of effort to start any kind of educational institutions. So how could you actually complain to the government about your backwardness? So Suresh Abhimani was reporting this, and this was used as a signal to the Muslims of Travancore or larger Kerala or Muslims of Malabar. Like, see, this is the same situation here, but the Muslims of Vaniyambadi is actually doing something practical. Instead of simply complaining, simply lamenting, they are taking a positive step. They have started a school, even if it is a school, that school is a big thing and they are running it very well. Then Vakam Maulavi from the Swadesha Abhimani press itself, he was actually printing a Muslim, a journal published in every month, and it was a thoroughly religious journal, a theological kind of journal. He was discussing all these notions of shirk and bid'ah and khurafat and that kind of an Islamic venture. That was Muslim magazine. Like, he was deeming many rituals and practices of Kerala Muslims as like baseless, and he was saying, branding them as superstitious, and he was saying that you can't see these things in Quran and Sunnah, and this is against your Tawheed and teachings of Prophet Muhammad. That is another topic, I am not going there. But in this Muslim magazine also, the importance of modern education was very much stressed, and he actually started it in 1906, but the magazine stopped functioning in 1907, and the Swadesha Abhimani press was gone. It was not with him anymore. But in 1913, he restarted publishing Muslim Monthly, and from 1913 to 1918, even though at times it stopped, generally speaking, it was continuously published for 5 years. So when you come to Muslim as well, you can see that along with Areekode, told you once, like, he was very much following almost all Muslim movements in Tamil provinces. Like, to say he was inspired by the movement in Trichy. Muhammad Yusuf Tangal, he was appointed as a preacher in Travancore region by Trichy Majlisul Ulama. And Vakam Maulavi and his friends formed an organization called Kerala Majlisul Ulama, inspired by this Majlisul Ulama at Trichy in 1921. This was a kind of pro-Khilafat, pro-nationalist, pro-Congress kind of ulama organization. They took the inspiration from Trichy, and in the early 30s, you can see Vakam Maulavi reporting Jamal Muhammad Sahib coming to Telicheri in Malabar, and he is presiding over another Muslim organization's conference there. So he was like that much, very much following the movements in Tamil provinces, and so quite naturally, along with these developments, Vaniyambadi was being regularly mentioned and reported, and it was presented as a model, as I said earlier, to look up for inspiration for the Muslims of Kerala. So even down south in Tamil Nadu, the events in Tirunelveli, the educational renaissance there, the Muslim community there are actually conducting conferences to discuss educational renaissance. These kind of things were coming up. I have translated a Malayalam passage from one of the issues of Muslim. It was in 1940. Like, it is obvious, Malayali Muslims remain dormant, doing little to advance their community. We can only be the wealthy among them to awaken and take action. So Vakam Maulavi was like, he was saying that you people are lazy, you are sleeping, and the exact words in Malayalam, take inspiration from them. So this was the general message. So, like, to say one thing, okay, I will come to that later. Vakam Maulavi also published another journal, and this is in Arabic Malayalam. If you want to see Arabic Malayalam, this is it. And it is very similar to Arabic Tamil. And in 1918, he published a Arabic Malayalam journal, Al-Islam, and this was also in Kerala. I will come back to Vakam Maulavi. This was Sheikh Muhammad Al-Hamadani, Muhammad Mahi Al-Hamadani. He is generally known as Sheikh Hamadani, Hamadani Tangal. It is Srimulam Prajasabha. It was a kind of popular assembly in Travancore, princely state, and he contributed immensely for the educational advancement of Kerala Muslims. See this. I don't know how many of you have actually heard about the place called Kodungallur. Kodungallur is a place in Kerala, and it is well known that Islam first reached the shores of Kodungallur in the entire Indian subcontinent. It is usually said like that. So near Kodungallur there is a village called Areekode, and in this village the Muslims there, they were very much inspired by Vakkam Maulavi, and they were part and parcel of his movement. Vakkam Maulavi was at Thiruvananthapuram, but this village was near Kodungallur. It is called Areekode, and this person, Sheikh Muhammad Mahin Hamadani, he actually went to Kodungallur and settled down there, and Kodungallur became the hub of education, Muslim educational renaissance in Kerala. So Areekode as a village is very important. You see a school in this photograph. This school was established in early 1910s, and this is the current state of that school, and that is still a school. But at that time, that school was a revolution. Muhammad Mahin Hamadani was the founder of this school, and many students came there, and these students were inspired by Vakkam Maulavi, these two other institutions. So, you see a figure here, Muhammad Abdurrahman. I don't know how many of you actually know him. I would say you should know him, because he is an alumnus of this institution, and he was not like, then there was no Vaniyambadi Islamiah college. Like Vaniyambadi Islamiah Sheikh Mahin Hamadani, he was a student of Vakkam Abdul Qadir Maulavi. He was a native of this Areekode village. I think you have the thread in your mind now. Near Kodungallur is getting inspired by it. Sheikh Mahin Hamadani is coming there, and he is settling down there, and he is starting a school. And that school produces a generation of young Muslim intellectuals. Like, they were very religious, they were attached to the reform movement, they actually inherited the Salafi understanding of Islam, but at the same time they were very much stressing the importance of modern education. They were themselves going for modern education, and that way, from a remote village in Kodungallur in Kerala, a young man was coming to Vaniyambadi and joining the Vaniyambadi Islamiah High School to have a better education. Think about it. It is like around 1915, I think 1914, 1915, that time, a young man named Muhammad Abdurrahman was coming here. See, Muhammad Abdurrahman is so famous. He was an MLA. He was a member of the Madras Legislative Assembly. He was the president of the Kerala Pradesh Congress Committee. If you ask any Malayali, just mention some name of freedom fighters, he would immediately say second or third at the least, it would be Muhammad Abdurrahman. Like, he is such a renowned figure in the public sphere of Malabar. Even outside Muslims, he is well known because he was so much active in the Indian National Congress, and he died in 1945. He is like a hero. Like, too many books, too many poems, even novels are written about him. Like, films are made about him. Like, he was that kind of a ferocious activist, like speaking to the British on the face. Like, that kind of a man was Muhammad Abdurrahman, and he was very active in the reform field also. So he was the alumnus here. So what I am saying is that many students were coming from these reformist villages. Like, Areekode was like a reformist village. So the elders were sending, just look to the surroundings. There are no colleges, there are no high schools, there are no higher secondary schools. They can't see. Reaching Areekode is a somewhat difficult thing. So Vaniyambadi is a nearby place, and you can go there and you can have an education and you can come back. So this is about Muhammad Abdurrahman, and this is another figure. He was a classmate of Muhammad Abdurrahman Sahib in this village. His father was a leader of the reformist movement, an immediate disciple of Vakkam Maulavi. He himself was a very active disciple of Vakkam Maulavi. He traveled to Travancore, and he stayed there, and he spent days with Vakkam Maulavi. Then he was a student at Thiruvananthapuram. Then, he was also studying at the Areekode school, and he didn't come to Vaniyambadi for higher education, but this was like, a kind of twins. Like, Muhammad Abdul Rahman and this person, his name is Sidi, KM Sidi Sahib. KM Sidi Ali, with any kind of historical sense, would know about him. He was the first speaker of Kerala Legislative Assembly. He was such a tall leader of both All India Muslim League and Indian Union Muslim League. As a close associate, like you can't even part between them. Like they were, that kind of a fraternity was existing, and they were constantly discussing things with each other. So he was MP, he was MLA, he was like too many constitutional positions he held. So KM Sidi Sahib was a student. He didn't go to Vaniyambadi, but what was happening is that Muhammad Abdul Rahman is in Vaniyambadi. People are going to Vaniyambadi. KM Sidi Sahib has a youngster. Both Muhammad Abdul Rahman and KM Sidi was born in 1898, and so they were very young during this time period. But I just mentioned a conference here. Lajnatul Muhammadiyah was a reformist organization established at Alappuzha in Kerala, and it was established in 1914. And the first anniversary of Lajnatul Muhammadiyah, that was conducted in 1915, that was a historic event in the sense that Wakam Abdul Qadir Maulavi came and presided over the function, and he talked about the importance of modern education. And KM Sidi, as a growing teenager or he was in his early youth, and KM Sidi spoke at the assembly, the anniversary, and KM Sidi Sahib was asserting that, oh Muslims of Kerala, you wake up from your sleep and look up to your surroundings. And he was mentioning 3 places. Earlier, I think our Secretary Saab was mentioning to Vaniyambadi and Areekode and some other colleges, like just by the same name, was actually established in North India during the same time frame. I think you must be aware of it. It is Lahore Islamiah College. KM Sidi Sahib in 1915, in the Lajnatul Muhammadiyah conference, he is talking to the Maplas around him, and he is saying that look up to Areekode, look up to Lahore, look up to Vaniyambadi. These was the 3 exemplary places where Muslims were actually achieving significant educational advancement. So KM Sidi Sahib was saying that Lahore Islamiah College, they are doing it. Vaniyambadi, even though it is not a college, they have a high school. Our friend Muhammad Abdul Rahman is there, our friends are there, too many students are studying there. It is so close. And of course, Areekode. Why Muslims of Kerala can't raise a fund and build a college and imitate them and get inspiration from them? So KM Sidi Sahib was talking this. I know about this speech because this conference was extensively covered by the Muslim magazine published by Wakam Abdul Qadir Maulavi. I have read these reports, and it was not just in one issue of the monthly. Like Wakam Maulavi was, he was publishing the presidential speech, he was publishing the proceedings of the conference, he was word by word, the speech of KM Sidi Sahib is extensively reported in the Muslim Monthly, and Vaniyambadi is mentioned there. So as Abul Fasar sir said, it would be like, if you learn Malayalam and go to these sources and find the name of your place and your college in these sources so early, it would be really, I think that would be that kind of a moment for you. So next, I want to conclude. I think it is too much time. So this is in 1916, 28 to 30 October, in the premises of Vaniyambadi Islamiah High School. This was happening, South Indian Muhammadan Educational Conference. This was really a historical event, I would say. Like people were actually attending the conference, and they were very keen to see the outcomes of the conference. So the college, that kind of an idea was coming up with such force at this conference. And from Areekode, I think the grandson of Sir Sayyid Ahmad Khan was coming. You might be knowing much better. And he was giving a good speech. Too many speeches were happening. And yes, we can establish a college. The debates about the Nizam of Hyderabad was offering help, and he was suggesting the name of Usmania College, and it was eventually rejected, and it became Vaniyambadi Islamiah College. A different story. I am not going down that tangent here, but that conference, my point is my curiosity is that a large contingent of Malayali Muslim reformers were coming straight to Vaniyambadi, camping here. They were attending the conference. They were received here as delegates. They had registered for the conference, and the big names like Sheikh Muhammad Mahin Hamadani, he himself was coming. His students were coming along with him. And Sidi Sahib were coming. See, not the Sidi Sahib who was the Speaker of Kerala Legislative Assembly. Then he was just a teenager. He was keenly observing his surroundings. He needed models to imitate for Kerala Muslims. He was the chief architect of, you read the book by Roland E. Miller. He is calling KM Sidi Sahib the chief architect of the Kerala Muslim Renaissance, especially the educational Renaissance. If the Kerala Muslims actually traveled a long journey in the field of education, and they can definitely say that they stand in front of the line. If we are considering Indian Muslims now, as of now, they are so much advanced. And if there is a single architect you want to point out, it would be KM Sidi Sahib. See, that KM Sidi Sahib was coming to Vaniyambadi as a student, as an early teenager. He was just 17 or something like that at that time, or 16. And he was coming here, like he was holding the hands of his teacher, Sheikh Muhammad Mahin Hamadani, who established the school at Areekode. And he was coming here, and here, Muhammad Abdul Rahman, whom I mentioned earlier, he was the captain of the volunteer corps of the conference. It is usually mentioned in his biographies, and he was very active in the organization of this conference, and he was receiving his teacher, Sheikh Muhammad Mahin Hamadani, and KM Sidi Sahib, and not only him. I happened to read the memoir of KM Sidi Sahib, and he was saying that not only Muhammad Abdul Rahman he is meaning at least more than half a dozen of students, not normal students. Each and every one of them are very famous in the public sphere of Kerala. KM Sidi Sahib are mentioning them. These are all reformist leaders in the later years. They contributed immensely to the educational development of Muslims of Kerala. They all attended not only they attended the conference, they were students of Vaniyambadi Islamiah College. So, see, this conference is also immensely covered by the issues of Muslim magazine. And Wakam Maulavi was like, what is happening? What I was dreaming for decades it is coming to fruition, at least in Vaniyambadi. So in that kind of a manner, Wakam Maulavi is reporting that, and he is calling the Kerala Muslims, at least, please look at Vaniyambadi, what is happening there. And just to say some nice words, like Wakam Maulavi was saying that the hospitality of Vaniyambadi Muslims, it is commendable, and they were really taking us as guests, and they were doing all kind of favors to us, and I really want to praise Vaniyambadi Muslims for this. And he was also saying, praising them for the awareness the Vaniyambadi Muslims have achieved through these years about the importance of modern education. So he was really setting up a model for Kerala Muslims. So, okay, long story short, I am just concluding. In 1922, an organization was established in Kerala, a reformist Muslim organization. It really, I always say, on the one hand, it had a Sangam. Muhammad Abdul Rahman Sahib was a leader. Wakam Maulavi was the mentor of the organization. Muhammad Mahin Hamadani, he was the first president of the organization. So it was established at Kodungalur. It was based in this village, these reformist villages near Kodungalur. And they established an ulama organization as organization of Muslim scholars, Kerala Jamiatul Ulama. It is still functional. Both these organizations strive hard for the spread of modern education among Kerala Muslims. See, listen, they constantly looked up to Tamil provinces. They brought in educational visionaries from Tamil provinces, to mention some like Abdul Jabbar Hasrat, like Sayyid Abdul Wahab Bukhari, Justice Abdul Rahim, Colonel Abdul Hamid, Dr. Abdul Haq. If you go through the proceedings of these organizations, you constantly come up you get even a bit of confused, like too many people from Tamil provinces are coming and are presenting their ideas, and they are really inspiring the people of Kerala. And you all know about Farooq College. In 1948, Farooq College was established, and like Farooq College was a real culmination of the activities of Kerala Muslim Aikia Sangam and Kerala Jamiyatul Ulama. The leaders of these organizations were the principal founders of the Farooq College, and all the properties that was registered under the name of Kerala Muslim Aikia Sangam, they were transferred to Farooq College as Waqf properties. The Waqf lands of Farooq College, many of those lands actually came from, it was actually owned by Kerala Muslim Aikia Sangam. So Farooq College, you know, even K.A. Jalil, who was the principal of the Farooq College in earlier days, he was here in Vaniyambadi Islamiah College, like from Vaniyambadi, from Madras, from Trichy. We were bringing people, we were bringing ideas, we were bringing intellectuals, we were actually gaining too many insights. So the Muslims of Kerala are indebted to you immensely, I would say, and in that really of Madras, of Trichy perhaps, a little bit more is talked about, because Madras and Trichy are a bit more big cities, and that connection actually that was preserved, and so we know about that. But about Vaniyambadi, I think much more should be written, much more should be researched, and much more should be talked, and we can shed light on too many unknown facts, I think. So, okay, thank you very much.